condolences to the former Prime Minister. And I'm still currently joined by Neerja Chaudhary as well as Prabhu Chawla. Ma'am, we have been speaking about the kind of a person that he was, the kind of a personality that he was, and a very important quality that Dr. Manmohan Singh had was his commitment to accountability. And I remember on the 12th of August in 2005, he in fact, nobody would have thought, and he in fact expressed his regret in the Rajya Sabha and apologized for the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. He didn't need to, but I remember he said that I have no hesitation in apologizing to not only the Sikh community, but also to the nation. I bow my head in shame that such a thing happened. Speaks volume about Dr. Manmohan Singh. And, his words, in fact, were a testament to his commitment to accountability and his efforts to promote national unity and reconciliation.
Yeah, this is correct. That statement is something that, the country, the Sikh community and others will remember for a long, long time, because it put to rest something that as a nation we'll take a long time to live down. I saw him last year. And one of the things he said to me was that I have done nothing in my life that I need be ashamed of. Those are big words. And I'd asked him, when Rahul Gandhi tore up that ordinance publicly, why did you not resign? So he said, he thought about it, but he said that Rahul Gandhi came to me afterwards and he apologized. So another thing that's very interesting that Prabhu mentioned also, in the 2009 elections where he came into his own, after the successful completion of the Indo-US nuclear deal, that really was a feather in his cap, and he'd seen it through, and he'd become his own person that much more. And then he dealt with the 2008 economic mess in the world, in the Western world, very successfully delinking India from the world economies. It was actually the 2009 206 tally of Lok Sabha that Congress got was attributed also to Manmohan Singh, that it was because of him also. And the middle class, the new middle class in India, that had, because of the economic reforms, and many of the middle class people had their children and relatives in the US. So they, even though they didn't understand the intricacies of that deal, which led to a strategic partnership with the US, they understood that it was firming up a new relationship with the United States, which they welcomed. And he was, the Congress party had won, and I remember in 54 urban seats. So that, that was a proof that the middle class had looked to him. And apart from the Gandhi family who led that campaign, it was also Dr. Manmohan Singh's election 2009. And I would say one more thing, that sometimes you wonder, of course, there are two sides of Dr. Manmohan Singh. There is his legacy, economic, foreign policy, navigating the coalition government successfully, though must have been very painfully. He didn't, whether he could have pushed the envelope that much more and asserted more, despite all the constraints, as the Prime Minister of India. That's a question that will hang there unanswered. And another question that comes to your mind is, suppose he'd headed a majority government, what would Dr. Manmohan Singh's rule have been like?
True, absolutely, ma'am. In fact, I'm also currently joined by my colleague Nazir Masoodi from Srinagar. Nazir, just give us a sense of Dr. Singh's legacy as far as his relationship with Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, and the kind of work that he did for Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, Dr. Singh will be remembered who for 10 years tried his best to ensure peace in Jammu and Kashmir, stability in Jammu and Kashmir, and end the hostility between India and Pakistan and ensure Kashmir remains free from terror and uncertainty. And I remember in 2005 when Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus was launched, there was a major terror attack near the rally site where he addressed a rally before launching that bus. But nothing deviated him from the path of pursuing peace because he never wanted terrorists to dictate terms or derail the peace process. So whether it was Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus service, whether it was cross LOC trade, and in fact, when it comes to return of Kashmiri Pandits, most substantial initiative which were launched, which were actually carried was by Dr. Manmohan Singh. He announced this employment, Prime Minister special employment package for Kashmiri displaced Pandits. More than 6,000 have got jobs, and so that they can come back to Kashmir, and here they get the comfortable, not just the job but also accommodation. And he built large number of accommodations as well. And when it comes to he knows the youth of Kashmir have suffered a great deal, Jammu and Kashmir, because of the conflict. And he announced a special Prime Minister scholarship for the youth to pursue the higher study. And if you see, thousands of students from Jammu and Kashmir have been benefited because of that scheme over the last more than 14 years. He rolled that out in 2010. And similarly, whether it was reconstruction, whether it was, pursuing peace. And in fact, as we know, everybody has been talking about Sharmal Sheikh, how he tried to risk his own, standing in the party, in his own party and the polity in the country. And he wanted to move forward, as Satinder Lama is mentioning in his book about how they were very close to the agreement with Pakistan, with General Musharraf. But for the judicial intervention in Pakistan, things would have been completely changed this time. And I have a personal anecdote also. I was reporting Manmohan Singh was here in Srinagar for some. He actually made several visits to Jammu and Kashmir, and he was here for 2 days. And he actually held also a roundtable conference here. He set up the working groups to address the economic and the political issues Jammu and Kashmir is confronting. And during one of his visits on his day second, I was reporting from Dal Lake how his presence and his engagement at the Sher-e Kashmir International Convention Center, a lot of inconvenience to tourists and the local. You believe Prime Minister himself, somewhere he got to know, and he took note and he preponed his departure. So something one can't believe that, a reporter reports something, the problems the tourists and the locals are facing because of the security restriction with Prime Minister in Srinagar, and then he prepones his departure. And that is something. And he was always, as you know, when it comes to Kashmir, he was always ready to face questions, talk about the security situation, and tried whatever was possible, even engaging with the separates, which was actually started by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, met with Hurriyat leaders, other leaders, to ensure there's peace, because the man had a bigger vision. He knew in the process and consensus, he knew that these are the only two things which will actually deliver lasting peace and where nobody will feel defeated. And that was the something which was followed by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, whether it was opposition that time or it was the ruling party here in Jammu and Kashmir. Everybody was in touch with him, and he tried his best when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir to ensure peace, ensure development, help youth to achieve their dreams when it comes to giving the scholarship, Prime Special Scholarship. And since, as I said, since 2010, thousands of students have been benefited by the scholarship. So Manmohan Singh, it's a loss for not for just the country, but people in Kashmir are also feeling that loss. Someone who cared a lot for this place, and when he came here for several times during his tenure as Prime Minister for 10 years. But his one thing, he could never visit his birthplace in Pakistan or Pakistan during 10 years. That was the hostility which was the Pakistan always displayed despite Dr. Singh's all the peace overtures, whether it was within Kashmir or without Kashmir.
And because you mentioned Pakistan, until that 26/11 Mumbai attacks happened and how it completely changed the trajectory, the ties with Pakistan also in a sense improved for some years. You know, back channel talks almost paved the way for movement forward in Kashmir then.
Yeah, exactly. If you see what Satinder Lama has, because he was the man, he was the diplomat who was holding back channel talks with Pakistan, and they were always close to this agreement on Kashmir. Because the fact is that what Dr. Singh wanted, as I said, he is the process and the consensus. He was that man, and he tried to engage all the stakeholders, even those who didn't agree with him or he didn't agree with them. But he would talk to them and ensure that the process is actually the way forward to ensure lasting peace. And Pakistan, as we know, always whenever there was a peace move, as I started with the Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus in 2005, there was a major terror attack just few hundred meters from the place where Prime Minister Manmohan Singh addressed the rally. But that didn't deviate him from his mission or to a peace mission. So he ensured that bus is launched. There was that bus service which continued for several years, which was stopped after abrogation of 370 in 2019. And we know 26/11, there would be several views whether India should have acted. But as one can see from a distance, Dr. Singh wanted to deal things in a different way, not for a tit for tat, but ensure there is a much bigger impact on Pakistan and much bigger deterrence than just carrying out a tit for tat attack. So perhaps that could have been the reason. But the fact is that that was something not fashionable that time or time in the country, that perhaps was not politically right decision for him, but he was thinking more strategic, long term. That's what the Dr. Singh's legacy is. And because he didn't believe, because he knew, because if you see, the relations with Pakistan was not just for the sake of Pakistan, it was to achieve larger strategic objectives for India. For example, after Galwan incident in 2020, when we see the horrible situation happen at the line of actual control, India had to somehow engage with Pakistan through back channel negotiations and ensure a ceasefire along the line of control since February 2021, because you can't have a two-front war and two-and-a-half-front war in Jammu and Kashmir along the LOC and the LAC as well. So Dr. Singh knew those challenges, that if there is a challenge of China, you can't have a confrontation with the Pakistan at the same time. Perhaps that was the reason he always wanted some kind of reconciliation with Pakistan, at the same time not to compromise India's national interest.
Absolutely. And you rightly mentioned, in fact, there was that famous Manmohan Musharraf four-step formula as well. Just shed some light on that as well, Nazir.
Well, 4-point formula, which was Musharraf formula, and it as I said, this Satinder Lamba has been talking in great detail in his book, because he was the man who was dealing with Pakistan and holding back channel talks with Pakistan. There were several things which were actually on the agenda, which actually meant that there's no, exchange of territory. There's no, compromise on the sovereignty. At the same time, it is a win-win situation for all the stakeholders, be it people of Jammu and Kashmir, be it Pakistan, be it India. Because fact of the matter is, issue of Jammu and Kashmir is not our part of Jammu. Issue of Jammu and Kashmir is also about the part of Kashmir which is with Pakistan. How can you get that back, or how can you resolve that? Or it will remain a permanent source of hostility. So Dr. Singh knew that it is not just this part of Jammu and Kashmir he has to talk about. He has to talk about other part of Jammu and Kashmir, and trade, and this trade and across LOC trade or the bus services also about to achieve that end as well. So it was a long-term, multifaceted. It was a strategic move. It was not just a event. He wanted to use the process as a mean, as a diplomacy and long-term planning that would serve India's national interest, rather than just the rhetoric or the political theatrics.
Absolutely. Nazir Masoodi, thank you very much for getting us all there. So these are live pictures that you are seeing from the Nigam Bodh Ghat. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the Union Home Minister, Amit Shah, along with other dignitaries, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge, Sonia Gandhi as well as Rahul Gandhi present there paying their last tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh. The last rites are taking place at the moment. It is indeed an end of an era. One of the finest statesmen has passed away. I'm still joined by Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist. Ma'am, we all ask this question. How do you think Dr. Singh's leadership style and humility earn him respect across party lines? But more importantly, what lessons can be drawn from him as a person, as a personality? Something that all the politicians at this point in these times need to learn.
Yeah, this humility, the understated style was very typically, inimitably his. Now, there are two sides to this story, that if you are like this, you can be pushed around. And you have to keep giving in to other people who may be stronger, who may use, strong arm methods to get their way. On the other hand, this is a very persuasive way to handle things also. And particularly if you have to deal with a whole lot of players in a coalition. It used to be said about him that Dr. Manmohan Singh was like that blade of grass. When the storm comes, it bends and survives. And there are those who stand, who are like trees and stand as erect. And when the storm comes, they crash. So it depends on the situation in which you find yourself. But certainly I would say that you wonder, of course, with Sonia Gandhi being a very powerful force behind the throne during his premiership, and of course the party also playing a very active role, and with NAC being there, National Advisory Council, which mooted, the rights-based laws that were finally passed by the government. They accepted it. I'm told Dr. Manmohan Singh had reservations also. Where will the money come from? All this, but then he went along with it, and it was under his stewardship that all that happened. But you wonder, as I keep saying, could he have pushed to assert much more as the Prime Minister of India? But then everybody says that his persona was very different, and he was mild mannered. He was, as you say, humble, self-effacing. All those qualities that, we are admiring so much about him today.
True, ma'am. And, today in these times, especially in the political spectrum, there is a lack of culture of transparency and accountability. How can Dr. Singh's, humility and integrity serve as a model for the future politicians, for the present politicians, and what steps can be taken? All right, there is the gun salute that is taking place. In order to honor Dr. Manmohan Singh there. Neerja Chaudhary, I was speaking about how we lack a culture of transparency in these times and accountability in Indian politics. How can Dr. Singh's
humility.
And humility, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, ma'am, just give us a sense of how can Dr. Singh's life be a model for future politicians and the way politics should be done?
I think, what was his unique selling point, as they say, his USP. He reached out across the political divide, and people across the political divide came to him. And what pained him in his last months was the immense bitterness, katuta, and all that they talked about between the ruling side and the opposition side. And I think this is the ability to have a dialogue with even your opponent, your adversary, without personal bitterness creeping in, is what democracy is all about. And if there is deadlock there, then there's going to be an impasse, there's going to be a standoff. You're not going to be able to move forward to resolve issues. So I think today, with huge aggression, I would say even viciousness creeping into political relationships between the two sides, I think Dr. Singh and what he stood for and what he wanted and what exercised him in the last months of his life is truly, truly relevant. I think, and a beginning, I feel, even for a few hours, where the entire top political leadership is present to give him a befitting farewell, right from the president, vice president, prime minister, defense minister, home minister, along with the Congress leadership and other party people. I think it is a befitting farewell because, as I said earlier also, ironically, in his death, he has become a symbol of unity, even for those hours. I hope it will not only be just those few hours.
Absolutely, ma'am. I also want to talk about a little bit of his tenureship as the Prime Minister. When he took over as the Prime Minister of this country, coalition politics was something that had started getting into Indian politics. We have seen that in the previous regime of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, then the UPA first and the second. What I want to understand from you, ma'am, is what lessons can be drawn from Dr. Singh's approach to coalition politics and, his ability to build a consensus across party lines?
When the certain ministers were taken in who had a question mark against their, record, and he had protested. I remember he'd almost, somebody had told me at that time, senior Congress person, he took out a resignation letter and was persuaded, you can't at the outset of your term start to resigning. And then I think he developed he became a tougher personality and knew he had to take all these people along. And therefore, he depended a lot on the party. He depended a lot on Pranab Mukherjee to do things, and how to deal with Sonia Gandhi on the one hand, how to deal with with Pranab Mukherjee on the other hand, who used to address as Sir before he became Prime Minister and continued to address him as Sir even in private till Pranab Mukherjee told him not to do so. And Pranab Mukherjee would virtually conduct the cabinet meetings. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said very little at these meetings. But he knew that he was at the apex, at the head. He had to take all these forces along and not have the boat rocked. So I think that is what he probably swallowed many a bitter pill to be able to do that. But he kept it going for 10 long years. And this was not easy at all. So many elements in that coalition of UPA. Each, the DMK wanting to do its own thing. And he's asserting. So, and even in Vajpayee's period, if you look back, he had to deal with a similar thing at the beginning of his 1998 term. So all these prime ministers who have led coalition governments have learned, how important it is to take everybody along.
Absolutely. And ma'am, we have been talking about him as an economist, as a statesman. I also want to understand from you, how did Dr. Singh's government at that point of time address social welfare and education? What initiatives were implemented in order to improve healthcare and literacy rate? Because these are few things that not a lot of people talk about.
I remember as Prime Minister at the 15th August ramparts of the Red Fort, he talked about malnutrition is a national shame.
True.
And they set up a group, but it wasn't very effective. But certainly in terms of the laws that were brought in, which were mooted really by the National Advisory Council led by Sonia Gandhi, which was the right to information, which was the right to work, Manrega, 100 days of work, and he realized the importance of that. But whenever and of course, right to food was a very difficult one, a very controversial one, which took a long time and came in his second term. But he questioned the money part of it. It's not that he was immediately for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people used to say that Montek Singh Ahluwalia and P. Chidambaram were the front for Dr. Manmohan Singh when they raised questions about these schemes. But the bottom line is that they went along with what was proposed. And therefore, and then the 60,000 crore waiver to the farmers, which brought them back to power in 2009. So overall, whatever be the differences within the government, and he had reservations on some of them coming from a different perspective of fiscal prudence and so on. He was the person under whose stewardship this rights-based approach was implemented by the UPA and the Congress Party. So he will be remembered for that as much as for anything else.
Absolutely. And ma'am, speaking about promoting India's interests, not just nationally, but on the global stage as well, just give us a sense of the role of Dr. Singh as far as that is concerned, and how can his approach be emulated as far as foreign policy is concerned?
Look, foreign policy, with the neighborhood, he reached out, he believed, again like Vajpayee, that if it could be a breakthrough with Pakistan, a solution to Kashmir. And again, it is with the US, of course, the Western world, it was a completely new relationship. And with George Bush, he had a rare chemistry. George Bush used to said at a dinner, he has a calming influence on me, and told bureaucrats in his entourage, he's my friend, take care of him. And he'd tell his own people, when they when they encountered obstacles in the way of the nuclear deal, he would say, what does Dr. Manmohan Singh want? So national interests of respective countries is of course supreme when you come to having understandings and deals to go through. But if you have this kind of a chemistry which Dr. Singh had with George Bush, then the way was smoothened. And the reason why George Bush liked Dr. Singh was that he was erudite, scholarly, but humble and very unassuming. So that part of his personality that we are talking about today so much is what made for his appeal.
Right. And, many would say that we are taking a very different approach at this point of time when it comes to dealing with our neighbors. And, when you look at Dr. Manmohan Singh and the way he approached these things, and especially India's relationship with the neighboring countries, what can we learn from that so that we can have better ties with our neighboring countries? Because strategically, that is also very important.
I think it is very important because you don't choose your neighbors, you have to live with them. And that is a reality that most people have to contend with. Now, Dr. Manmohan Singh didn't have to win an election. The responsibility for winning an election for the Congress Party was not his. So he could get on with things that he felt were very important for the country. For others, whether you do Pak bashing or China bashing at a particular time to cater to your domestic constituencies and vote banks, he didn't have to worry about that one. So he could take a much more of a holistic view of what needed to be done. And I think that's where he was coming from.
Right. In fact, I've also got my colleagues Sunil Prabhu as well as Nazir Masoodi there. Sunil, just take us through what exactly is happening at the moment. What we are seeing is the last rites have taken place at the Nigambodh Ghat. Just take us through what exactly transpired today.
The final journey is over. Dr. Manmohan Singh's mortal remains have been consigned to flames, and it's an end of an era. It's an end of an entire journey for modern India. Post 1991, Dr. Manmohan Singh, with his economic reforms, with the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao's support, and the Congress Party, ushered in a huge amount of strategic changes in India's economic policy, criticized at that time by the then opposition, and the rest, of course, is history. Every successive government, whichever it was, be it the National Front, be it the United Front, be it the National Development Alliance led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, everybody followed the same principles of economic liberalization, one way or the other. In fact, I think Dr. Manmohan Singh really, the UPA one was to even take along and deal with very important developments in terms of economic liberalization during the first tenure, 2004 to 2009, which helped modern India to carry on forward the entire economic liberalization movement and that entire process. So it's in that backdrop that not only did he concentrate on giving us a great GDP in those years, overall nearly 7.8, which is something commendable. It's clearly something that he started off in terms of ensuring India's space in the international arena, be it the nuclear suppliers group or the Indo-US nuclear deal. He was able to get those waivers to ensure that India's future, power requirements would be met, and that India's nuclear winter, apartheid, as I would call it, in those years from foreign countries would be lifted. So it's been a long road, and as you could see in those visuals, there were neighboring countries, the King of Bhutan coming down specially for this, as well as the Prime Minister of Mauritius and others. This is the Finance Minister. They are cutting across, as we saw somebody from Malaysia, Dr. Manmohan Singh has been in the helm of affairs from 1991. There are many finance ministers who he helped, who he saw go through troubles, and they even offered, support to them. So for them, it's clearly somebody who really was able to negotiate a very critical aspects of India's economic policy. More importantly, as India and the world faced the 2008, the Lehman Brothers crash, and the entire issue and the emergence of G20 at that time, the world looked at Dr. Manmohan Singh for his stellar, stewardship and his statesmanship on how to revive and to tackle that important aspect. In fact, no less than the former president of the United States of America, Barack Obama, calling him my guru. So that's the kind of standing that Dr. Manmohan Singh had, not only internationally, but within nationally, cutting across party lines. Whatever the views that he got from various political people, all of them understand that here was a man who was simple, humble, extremely polite, and rare to find in Indian politics. He would never lose his shirt or lose his cool. He knew what needs to be done and how it should be done, and that was the man that he was.
Absolutely, and this is something that you can say is a rarity in Indian politics at this point of time. Nazir, we saw people from all walks of life, people from all different political parties coming together to pay their last respects to Dr. Singh. Speaks a lot about his ability to build that consensus across party lines.
Exactly. And his motto remains, may have been consigned to flames, but his legacy will live on. And the way everybody is paying homage, paying respect, remembering his contributions, immense contributions to the country and every part of the country, every person who knows about him and or who personally knows him, talking about, there was a, even when he was prime minister, there was a touch of humility, decency, and that is something that sets him apart. And when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, and then by extension relations with Pakistan, for 10 years Dr. Singh did whatever was possible to ensure lasting peace, because it was not any love for any country or person, but he knew it's India's national interest. Because for him, as Nirja was talking about, that he was not a career politician, and his for him the whole interest was about the country, nation, how it will help India in the long run, besides the political theatrics. So he did whatever was possible, made some important initiatives within the Jammu and Kashmir, and outside Jammu and Kashmir. He knows the situation here has external influences, and he wanted to address them. He also knew that the whole discourse maybe about resolving Kashmir issue is the gist part of Jammu and Kashmir. He also knew that it's also the other part of Kashmir which is under the control of Pakistan,
Right.
and there needs to be a negotiation, talks on that, how to resolve that as well. So that's why we know that 4-point formula.
Right.
We also know that what Satinder Lama has been talking about, they had reached this final agreement as well. So Dr. Singh would be remembered for so many things when it comes to Kashmir, whether it was return of Kashmiri Pandits, giving them employment under Prime Minister's special employment package. It was helping youth of Jammu and Kashmir to pursue higher studies by ensuring special Prime Minister's scholarship scheme, which has helped thousands of students from Jammu and Kashmir. So that's how the Dr. Singh would be remembered in Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely. In fact, while India is paying homage to Dr. Manmohan Singh and paying their condolences and tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh, politics has emerged over the memorial. It is BJP versus Congress over Manmohan Singh's memorial. BJP says that the government has agreed for the memorial request, and that Congress is now playing politics. The centre also said that the memorial space will be allocated. The government has in fact released a fact sheet regarding the memorial. The Congress, in the meanwhile, and the Punjab leaders said that the cremation at Nigambodh Ghat was a shocking practice that was ended by the UPA government in 2013. In fact, Dr. Singh led the UPA government, blocked separate memorial demands. Remember, in 2013, UPA cabinet decided to set up common memorial ground, the Rashtriya Smriti Sthal at the Rajghat. Let's listen in to some of the reactions.
Last point, I mean, unnecessary controversy about the memorial.
This is avoidable, and I think the onus of avoiding these controversies lies at the doorstep of the government.
You feel that the memorial...
Obviously, I mean, he's the greatest, one of the greatest sons of India.
कांग्रेस पार्टी की नेहरू गांधी वाड्रा परिवार को ये जवाब देना चाहिए कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह का जब वो देश के प्रधानमंत्री थे तो एनएसी के तहत क्यों कांग्रेस पार्टी की सोनिया गांधी जी ने अपमान किया था। कांग्रेस पार्टी को ये जवाब देना चाहिए कि सरदार पटेल के स्टैचू का उसने क्यों विरोध किया था। गांधी वाड्रा परिवार ये डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर सकता कि कांग्रेस पार्टी से कोई भी दूसरे व्यक्ति को या किसी भी दूसरे नेता को उतना सर्वोच्च सम्मान मिले जितना कि नेहरू गांधी वाड्रा परिवार खुद को देना चाहता है।
day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai, to the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी. Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Will Myanmar's junta chiefs see the same fate as Syria's Bashar al-Assad? Beijing in limbo as Xi's purge extends to his own men. How Trudeau's own misgivings are likely to become his end. And broken souls in a broken system, why young Wall Street bankers are getting by using ADHD pills.
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera. Welcome back. The Enforcement Directorate has summoned Bharat Rashtra Samiti Party working president and former minister K.T. Rama Rao along with senior IAS officer Arvind Kumar and former HMDA chief engineer BLN Reddy in connection with the Formula E race case. K.T. Rao has been asked to appear on 7th of January while Arvind Kumar and BLN Reddy, they are scheduled to appear on the 2nd and 3rd respectively. The probe is being conducted under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act based on an FIR filed by the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera. Jammu and Kashmir sees heavy rainfall as Dodas could be seen covered in a blanket of snow as the area receives heavy snowfall.
(2024), the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf.
As Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
When India mourned. When India celebrated. When India protested. When India felt proud. When India scaled new heights. NDTV brought it all to you. Your trusted news destination. Yesterday, today and tomorrow.
A very warm welcome to the first edition of the NDTV Emerging Business Conclave 2024.
MSME विभाग एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है.
We have to think about what is brand India. India will always stand for democracy. We will always be one of the largest investors in the world.
It is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow.
We are seeing that women are coming up in many other sectors apart from the traditional sectors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation. Production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark.
Ladies and gentlemen, taking the flow of this event forward, of course, we have two visionary leaders here with us. An extraordinary journey, a true testament of coming together of values and vision. And I think this is just the perfect note for me to invite onto this dais the chairman of Hero Enterprise, Shri Sunil Kant Munjal, to deliver the welcome address at the 17th edition of BML Munjal Awards.
Let me add my welcome to all of you for this special evening, especially to Piyush Ji, Minister for Commerce and Industry, Government of India. I also want to thank our guest of honor, Shri Amitabh Kant, India's Sherpa to the G20. Thank you very much, Mr. Kant, for making the time. You have been both an ideas man for India and an actions man for India. As you just heard, the BML Munjal Award started in 2006, when we had 25 companies apply for the awards. Over a period of time, it has become truly a highly coveted award, and we have hundreds of companies every year who make a pitch to be considered for the award. So these awards from day one were designed to pick companies which focus on people as a part of their main strategy of the business and whose business ends up benefiting from this. So we have two different events we are trying to achieve in a short period of time this evening. One is to give away these awards to companies who have been shortlisted and selected.